Hey there, everybody. I am fresh off my comics video, but I am back with another impressions video. This is for Judge Eyes here, also known as Judgment for you dudes outside of Japan. But Judge Eyes, this is a new Yakuza game, basically, with different characters. Um, so let's talk about it. First, like, if you've never played any of the Yakuza series, you should get on that because those are great games. Great games overall, great in so many ways. But Judge Eyes here is basically a new type of Yakuza game. So instead of being a Yakuza member or a Yakuza related person, you are Kim Tak, who is from SMAP, which is a kind of Japanese boy band. Who is this character? Actually, you're not playing him as him in the game. He's just like the model for the character. But you are a detective, like a private detective. And you are solving some kinds of mysteries. But originally, okay, so I'll give you a basic overview of what the story is. Okay, you're a lawyer at first. You get this murderer off in a case. Like, it seems like he's definitely going to be convicted. You get him off, and you're like hailed as like this really great lawyer, right? And then like that guy you got off gets caught up in another thing where like it seems like he murdered his girlfriend like immediately after that. So you feel like, oh shit, you got this murderer off, and then he killed somebody. Now it's your fault. So he quits being a lawyer and becomes a detective. I keep thinking of the Japanese word when I'm saying it because I've been playing this entirely in Japanese, right? But so he becomes a detective, and it's 3 years later, and you're in Kamurocho, which if you've played Yakuza, you'll recognize the setting because it's the same place. So we'll get into that. It's like the same kind of engine as the last Yakuza game on PS4 was. You're in Kamurocho, which is basically Shinjuku Sanchome. And it looks great. Graphics look fine. Everything is cool. Like, there's very little to complain about. Everything looks awesome. You're running around as per your normal Yakuza game. So, you have everything looking great. So I have no real complaints about the graphics. Sometimes there's like weird frame drops when there's like loading going on. So sometimes like you'll like be running around normal, and you'll like there'll be like a cutscene that's loading, and like suddenly everything will stop, and it'll seem like there's like a weird skipping and jittering. But like it's only like every once in a while, and it's always when it's loading like into a cutscene. So it's not like exactly seamless, right? Other than that, though, no real problems with the graphics. If you're used to what these games look like, it looks like one of those. So let's get into the mechanics. So here I'm saying this is like a Yakuza game, and it is, but there are some differences. So like, obviously you're not a Yakuza member. You're not like someone who's kind of like a dude in the in like the crime underworld. So you have different types of things you're doing. First, like, unlike Yakuza games, you can't like stab people. You can't like use swords. You can't use knives. You can't use guns. That's out. Like, if an enemy can use them, if enemies use them, like, and they drop them, you can't pick them up. Just, you can't. You're not somebody who's like able to use those. You have two fighting styles that you can switch between, and like, it's set up in a way that like the fighting styles are meant to take out certain types of enemies. So like you have kind of a speedy style that's weaker, and a strong style that's kind of like your normal. It's like, imagine like you've got like this kind of kung fu style, and then you have also like your standard like Yakuza battle style, and I think like what it is like you have a fast style that you use for sometimes bigger enemies, and it'll break their guard faster. And then you have like the strong style, which is like you use against the smaller guys who will be speedy, I guess. It comes into play with bosses and things too. It's like, so like you'll often have bosses that are weaker to certain types of styles. and and there's like a final boss, not the game's final boss, but like a side quest final boss who I'll let you guys guess who it is. It's pretty easy. If you've played any of the other Yakuza games and got all the side quests, you know who the final boss is. But when you do it, when you do that battle, it actually matters what you like. Sometimes you're like towards the end of the battle, your normal, you have to switch the styles to match, or they won't. You can't even do any damage to the boss. So it actually does matter at some points what the styles do. But for the most part, when you're fighting normal dudes in the street, you can just, use whatever style you like. Whatever one is fun for you, which doesn't really matter because, like, the normal street guys aren't usually strong enough to be, like, killing you in any way, as, like, the normal rank enemies wouldn't be in any game. So, but there's also a new kind of mechanic for your health. So unlike previous games where you could just like stock up on a million healing items and just like go into any boss battle and just wreck stuff by like pausing in the middle of the battle and drinking healing stuff, you can still do that in this, but like there's types of damage that like lock parts of your healing off. So like if you get shot with a gun, you get like major damage, and like what'll happen is like part of your health bar will like break, it'll shatter and it'll turn red, and you won't be able to heal that with normal healing items. So like if you get food or something, you can't heal the major damage with it's like severe damage, I think is what they'll probably translate it to. Whatever, it's like severe injury. So like if you get stabbed by certain people, or you get hit with a boss kind of special move, or you get shot, those will always be severe damage, and it'll break off parts of your health bar, and effectively makes your health bar shorter, which is bad. So you have to heal that at a doctor, or you have to heal it with a medical kit. So the healing isn't quite as like simple as you would expect. It also means that healing is more expensive. And even like your normal healing items are more expensive. Like usually you get those health drinks that are like heal you a ton, and they're relatively cheap. Like the most expensive one in the previous games is like maybe 10,000 yen. In this one, like healing is really expensive. Like the health drinks are like 100,000 yen. They're like really expensive, and like you don't get money. It's not like Yakuza 0 where you get like truckloads of money. So like I found that like instead of using those health drinks, I'd be buying like just lots of food items. So just buy like a ton of food and use that as my healing instead of the health drinks, which didn't even really heal as much as you'd expect considering their huge prices. So it makes it a bit more challenging in some ways. So that's good. I mean, I don't mind. It's not like I ever felt like it was like super unfair. There's only one battle where it's kind of unfair, where like, you have to enter your phone menu to get your items, and there's one boss in the game that will steal your phone from you, and then you won't be able to use any healing items. So that was rough going at that point. But again, that's one special boss that is optional. But for Judge Eyes altogether, like the mechanics are pretty much the same as your standard Yakuza series, though. So you run around town. It's kind of an open world in like a sandbox. So like it's not like it's not like a gigantic huge open world. It's like just one neighborhood, right? You're just in this like a few square blocks that you can run all over, and there's a bunch of buildings and activities you can do. Random encounters happen on the street. You fight people. Like random thugs will try to attack you. Sometimes Yakuza members will attack you. You've got a bunch of stuff like that. So it's your standard play. If you've played any of this games in this series, you know what I'm talking about. There's lots of things you can do up through the city. You've got like your story quest, which is very serious, and then you have like your kind of side missions that are full of like interesting and wacky characters. And unlike the other games, in this one you can build up friendships with people throughout the town. So you'll meet people in these side quests, or you'll meet people during the game, and you'll be able to like become friends with them. and they have a friend meter. And once you fill out the friend meter, it's usually by doing like a little quest or helping them with something, that they'll become your friend. And sometimes this has an effect. So, for example, you can become friends with people at the convenience stores. And what'll happen is, like, if you get in a battle near the convenience store, you'll be able to call them as a friend, and they'll throw you an item or something. And usually at a convenience store, it'll be something like they'll throw you like some type of food item that's hot, and you'll like catch it in the air and whip it at one of the enemies, and it'll like burn their face, and they'll like fall over and die. It's cool. Like, it gives you like a little bit of things. So like the restaurant people, there's a bunch of people at restaurants where you can do that, and they'll throw you out some kind of like some people will throw out hot sauce, and you like dump it in there like one of the enemy's eyes, and they're like screaming on the ground holding their face. It's pretty brutal with the way that in the same way that like all the kind of special moves are brutal in this game, right? And they're contextual, so sometimes like you'll be able to do a special move near a wall, and it'll do a special finisher. My favorite finisher in this is like there was one. You can like jump off the wall in this. You can like kind of run at a wall, jump off it, and kind of do like a triangle attack off. And like I had one where it was like in an alley, and there were like 5 dudes in the alley fighting me, and I jumped off the wall and grabbed one and did like a Hurricane Rana around. If you know, it's like a grab their neck with your legs and spin, and you like took out 5 dudes in one move. It was pretty cool. So there's some cool stuff, like there's, as in all these games, like there's a lot of cool finishers. You can unlock a lot. So as you level up, you get stronger. Obviously, you get experience from fighting dudes and doing quests and things. And there's a menu of 3 types of things you can fill out. So like you can fill out your, like your abilities. You can fill out some like special kind of skills you have, and then you can fill out your power, like your body abilities. So like you can strengthen yourself or get more health or whatever. You got 3 menus for that. You've got some new stuff in here is like you have like a crowdfunding app where you'll sometimes meet people to perform they'll ask you to like fund their thing, or like you'll get like messages for crowdfunding, and you can like crowdfund more advanced healing items. You can crowdfund like technique books and things, like upgrades for your items. You can crowdfund. It's it's a good way to spend a bunch of money. And there's like some other like side quests you can do. There's no karaoke, there's no like hostess clubs like the Yakuza games. It's got different stuff. Batting cages are still there though, but in this one you've got darts and stuff is still there, but like you've got a VR board game type of thing you can play, where you like you have VR helmet and you run through on a board game, and then you like land on a square and something happens, so it'll be like a battle, or you'll have like a lockpicking event or something. So that's like one of the easiest ways to get a ton of money in the game. It's just getting passes to play is hard. Until you like figure out how to use the batting cages. Like it's kind of, few and far between that you'll get passes. But as you like clear the batting cages, you'll get more passes, and then like eventually you can get like an infinite pass. But you have to like play a lot of stuff to get an infinite pass. There's a lot of like gambling games you'll have to play to get those, and you'll have to do like, there's drone races. So there's no cars, but like you can get drones that you use for spying on people, but like you can do races throughout the city with the drones. So that's a big thing. I didn't really do much of that because I don't like racing. It's not fun for me. But you have to like clear the easiest level of racing to win like some kind of friend event. So I had to do that to get the optional final battle. But so you'll have to learn how to play mahjong too. If you don't know how to play mahjong, you're never going to get all the all the levels of the friends. You have to win at least one like series of mahjong. And I like watched videos on YouTube of how to play mahjong in order to learn how to play it. I mean, there's instructions, but it's like 30 pages of written instructions that I'm like not willing to read for mahjong. But yeah, so I'm trying to think of some other stuff that, okay, so you have different kinds of missions that you can do also. So unlike the previous game, because you're a detective, you have to do detective things. So sometimes you'll be in situations where you have to search crime scenes for items or like clues to what happened. So you'll get like a first person view, and you'll be like have like a little magnifying glass icon that you move around a screen and try to look for things that are off, and you'll find things to help solve a case. You'll also do like kind of following missions where you follow people, you sneak around following people around town to see what they're doing or get pictures of them in, compromising situations or whatever. So there's things like that. And then there's like your standard side quests also, where you're just like helping somebody get something, or you're like, solving some kinds of things. There are, there's like a bunch of, friend side quests. There's goofy ones. There's like, um, uh, there's, I don't know how they're going to translate this in you when you get it in the game, but there's like missions where you have to fight like the three like perverteers or whatever, where like they're the three musketeers of pervs. And there's so like there's goofy stuff like that where like you're fighting a dude who steals underwear, a dude who like like touches people on the train or whatever, like those kinds of people. So like you're following there's goofy missions like that, but the main story is always serious, whereas like the goofy stuff comes with the side stuff that's optional, right? So yeah, overall, this is really good. I haven't been playing a ton of games recently, but this one I got really into, finished it as fast as I could. It took about 60 hours to do. Like, probably you could, if you don't want to unlock the final boss, the optional final boss, like, you could probably get through this game in much, much faster. You don't have to do all the side quests. You don't have to do all the friend missions. If you do all the side quests and all the friend missions, it takes about 60 hours. And that's not 100% playthrough either. So like 100% involves like beating all the highest levels of all the games and stuff. And I'm not learning Mahjong that much, like I'm not doing that. So, there's some stuff, but the story itself, it does involve Yakuza members. It does involve Tojo Kai, which is like the Tojo group. I don't know how what it's called in English. It's Tojo Kai in Japanese. But so you get some kind of Yakuza members, but there's no crossover. There's no like crossover between the game besides that it's in the same location. Like, and a lot of times they do a lot to differentiate it. So like, in the previous games, like there's like the bar New Selena where everybody hangs out. You never go there. You can't even go in. It's not an option. There's a different bar you're going to in this. It's in a different location in another part of town. You don't go to any of the places that you would normally go to besides like the common places. So like the restaurants are the same for the most part. Smile Burger's still there, like Wild Jackson. You can go to those places. But like none of the main locations play main roles. So like you're not going to be like taking your shirt off and fighting on top of Millennium Tower or whatever. That doesn't happen in this. It's not the same type of game. And like Millennium Tower, you go there because it's a major landmark, but like you don't do anything in there. It's not like the main setting for the game, right? So it doesn't play any major role. Like in the previous games, it plays a major role for like every one of those games, right? So, yeah, I mean, it does a lot to differentiate itself, but it's not enough to make it feel like it's unfamiliar. So, I think it does a good job of adding like new characters without even relying on cameos from other characters. There's nobody shows up. And like you'd expect like maybe not Kiryu to show up, but like you'd expect someone like Akiyama to show up or something, like, because he should be in Kamurocho still, but he doesn't show up. None of those people show up. You don't see anybody from the previous games. And I think that's done on purpose, just to like give this game its own kind of identity. And they do a good job with that. If they came out with another one of these, I'd definitely play it. I mean, it's a great game. So when it comes out for you guys in 6 to 8 months, I guess, I don't know when it's coming, sometime next year, 2019, pick it up. It's going to be awesome. It is awesome. I had a lot of fun playing it, and I would recommend it. So that's it, 20 minutes. That's short video for me, for impressions anyway. But yeah, you guys got any questions? Anything I left out, which is possible? I don't, it happens. Anything you want to hear about, feel free to ask in the comments below. So I will catch you guys next time.